And the first thing we're going to talk about is Vlad. Because Vlad is right now, literally at this exact moment, he is trending on Twitter. Because apparently Casanova is in jail because of Vlad. Did you know that? Did you know that it's not Casanova's bad decision making. It's not the fact that Casanova might have been hanging around the wrong crowd. Casanova is in prison right now because Vlad TV. Vlad did this to him. Who would have thought? I would have never guessed. But lo and behold, that's what the internet is saying. And so Vlad is trending. I don't know why he was trending. And let me get this article right now so that we can be in this together. All right. So just to give you guys kind of a springboard as to why people are accusing Vlad of being what they call an op, what the streets call an op. The rapper Casanova was arrested by the FBI, and he's being accused of conspiring in, quote, terrible acts of violence. Let's read this New York Times article. No, actually, let's not read this New York Times article. I will post the New York Times article in the show notes, but let me just read some parts of it. So Casanova, whose legal name is Caswell Sr., and 17 others were accused of what the top federal prosecutor in Manhattan called, quote, terrible acts of violence, end quote, in New York City, Westchester County, and upstate as members of the untouchable guerrilla Stone Nation gang. Specifically as to what Casanova is accused of, Mr. Senior, that's Casanova's government name, 34, surrendered to the authorities late Wednesday, officials said. On Thursday, he made an initial appearance via video conference in federal court where a judge ordered that he be detained while his lawyer prepared a bail application. The lawyer said in an interview that the FBI had been wrong to suggest in messages posted on Twitter that Mr. Senior, Casanova, had been, quote, on the run, end quote, before turning himself in. He had always planned to surrender. And so, the article details the similarity between Casanova's case and 6ix9ine's case. And so that's why Casanova is being indicted, right? And specifically, Casanova, he is being charged in a decade-long racketeering conspiracy that spanned murder, drug crimes, and gun offenses. So we have that. How is Vlad's name being brought into this? So Vlad is a white dude who, for years, I didn't even know was white because he really shows his face. But he is a very famous person on YouTube. Now, he has his own website, Vlad TV, of course, but YouTube is primarily where most of us watch his content. And Vlad sits and he interviews people. He interviews all types of people, but I do think it is fair to say that a good chunk of the people he interviews are hip hop and rap artists. Why? Because hip hop and rap in urban culture is the dominating, pop culture in America, right? Rap and hip hop is pop now. Pop is popular. Hip hop is the popular culture right now. So it would make sense that Vlad would be primarily interviewing rappers on this platform. But it is also a two-way relationship because many artists who may not be huge yet, Vlad is good at this. Vlad is good at finding the people who are about to explode before they are super hot and they are on his platform, right? Cardi B was on Vlad's platform. Ruby Rose was on Vlad's platform. Many up-and-coming rappers end up on Vlad's platform before they are super, super hot artists. And so the relationship is beneficial. This is kind of why I push back against this belief that Vlad is somehow a culture vulture. A culture vulture is somebody who doesn't bring anything to the table that you can use. He only takes from you. And that's not the case. Vlad takes from hip-hop and hip-hop takes from Vlad. It is a mutually beneficial relationship. And so Vlad is trending. I go on Twitter to see why is Vlad trending for. And it's pretty much people just tweeting that Vlad is working for the feds. No proof, no accusations, just the fact that multiple people who have gone on Vlad's platform have ended up getting arrested. People are now saying that Vlad is obviously working for the feds. And then an article that came out, the one that I found was Hot New Hip Hop. It said, Casanova's interview with Vlad TV used to indict rapper report. It says, there are a few people in hip hop who are definitely working with the feds. We can certainly count on Tekashi 6ix9ine being among those. But for years, there have also been whispers that DJ Vlad has also cooperated with the authorities to help get rappers locked up. Vlad has denied this, though he has also joked about it on a few occasions. namely when he interviewed Lil Baby and brought up the fight that rappers had behind bars. Earlier today, it was revealed that Vlad's TV interviews with Casanova that detailed the rapper's previous convictions had been used against him in his recent federal indictment. So apparently, this is kind of being claimed by the feds. I can't find the original article that I saw, but what they're saying is that the feds put it out there that they used Casanova's social media and his interview with Vlad to help put together some evidence to get him locked up. That's what is being claimed. Now, I'm trying to find like an original source article from like a credible newspaper saying that the feds said that they used Vlad's interview to lock up Casanova. I can't find that, but just assume that what Hot New Hip Hop is saying is true, and that the feds did come out and say that, yeah, they used Vlad TV's interview with Casanova to help bring evidence against him. And they're saying that it was per Inner City Press. It has a quote here. In public interviews, he has admitted to stabbing inmates while incarcerated. They're talking about Casanova on those charges. And the government has recovered photos from his iCloud account of several firearms. That was very dumb if they were not legal, demonstrating his continued access to weapons. In addition to publicly promoting the gang and glorifying its activities, Senior is also a drug supplier for Gorilla Stone. Now, let's stop right there for a second. Vlad is an interviewer. It's kind of what he does. He interviews hip hop artists. He interviews his boxers. Like right now, he's interviewing TK Kirkland, Mike Tyson. And look, Vlad is good at his job. I know it's easy to say, well, I could do what Vlad is doing. Well, if you could do what Vlad is doing, then you would be doing it. Everyone thinks they can do what everyone else can do, except when it's time to do it, no one's around to do it. No one's around. So no, I don't think anyone could do what Vlad does. I like the fact that Vlad is never in the videos himself. He is behind the microphone, though I saw a crazy tweet today that suggested that Vlad is not even in the room, which is wild, but whatever. And then, he has the camera sitting there. He has like a fake background and is a rapper, and he just talking to the camera. And Vlad is not in there at all. It's a great style. It's very cheap and efficient to shoot. And it took off. And Vlad has built an empire being Vlad TV. Right? And so people are blaming Vlad because the feds came out and said that, yeah, they use Casanova's social media and his interview with Vlad to indict him. Are we not going to have a serious conversation regarding why someone who has previously or is currently engaging in any type of criminal activity would go on a podcast, would go and sit with Vlad, who is the #1 interviewer on the web, and confess to crimes? You make that make sense for me. Go ahead. I'm waiting. Make it make sense. If I was out there even connected to anybody doing some real dirt, right? If I was the cousin of somebody who was out here engaged in drug trafficking, conspiracy to commit violence, any of these serious charges, if I was related to somebody like that, I wouldn't do an interview with Vlad TV. You know why? Because he's probably going to ask me about it. You know why? Because his job is to interview me. That's his job. If you're doing dirt, you shouldn't sit with Vlad. If you're doing dirt and you decide to sit with Vlad, then guess what? You don't have to answer any questions that he asks about the dirt you're doing. You can just say, hey man, I don't really want to get into this, or next question, or no comment. Happens all the time. You do not have to respond and provide explicit details to crimes that you're committing. Even better, bring your lawyer with you. You can do that. You can tell Vlad, look, Vlad, I'll do your podcast, but I have to bring my guy with me, my lawyer, to make sure that I don't incriminate myself. But no, none of these guys seem to think that, oh yeah, confessing to crimes on this video that is bound to go viral is not going to come back and bite me in my ass. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the world to see a couple of steps ahead of you guys. And this message is to all hip hop artists, all the rappers out there. Personal responsibility seems to be something that is not sexy these days because no one has brought that up. I have certain people that I follow on Twitter who have kind of regurgitated what I just said, where they're saying, look, don't blame Vlad for this. Blame these rappers for going on there and confessing to all of their sins like it's a confessional. This video is going to be seen by everybody. Your social media is going to be seen by everybody. So no, you can't blame Vlad for doing his job as an interviewer. Let me read you some of these tweets from people that are calling Vlad the ops. So Scotty Beam, who I love, she tweeted, please stop going to Vlad. Boogie Buzzins, I don't know who he is. Stop doing Vlad interviews. Somebody else tweeted, Vlad don't even hide this shit. He deliberately tries to incriminate niggas. Somebody else tweeted, now this was a crazy tweet that we're going to come back to. There's a guy called Chuck is Dope, and he tweeted, I knew Vlad interviews were sus when I noticed I was talking to a laptop. The nigga wasn't even in the room. He conducts that shit from a secret location. You never see his face. The drum set is a decoy. Now, I had no idea Vlad was not in the room. I thought he was in the room but behind the camera. But once again, what does Vlad not being in the room have to do with his comments or your answers to certain questions? What does Vlad being in the room have to do with you answering questions in a way that incriminates yourself? It doesn't. It doesn't. And we can't keep pushing the responsibility off of the individual onto somebody else. This is on these rappers. This is on you. Now, I understand why they go on Vlad because like I said earlier, it is a mutually beneficial relationship. And so whenever people talk about Vlad and they pretend as if the rapper doesn't get something out of this deal, you're being disingenuous. The rapper absolutely gets something out of going on Vlad. Otherwise, a bunch of people will not be flocking to Vlad. We got to do better. I mean, you could maybe say that maybe he shouldn't ask certain questions, but why? Isn't the job of the interviewer to kind of ask all of the questions that people will want to know and to push the boundaries? And it is on you, the interviewee, to say, no comment, next question, not going to answer that. Right? Just like remind me of that interview. I forgot who did it, but back when there was the interview with R. Kelly. This is way back in the day, by the way. And you know, the guy, he asked R. Kelly something about does he like underage girls or teenage girls? Then R. Kelly said define underage, or he said define teenage. Something crazy. R. Kelly didn't have to say that. He could have just said no. Next question. But he said it the way he decided to say it. That's not the interviewer's fault. It was R. Kelly's fault. The same way it is not Vlad's fault if you confess to a crime on his platform. And that just needs to be said because everyone else is saying cancel Vlad. I'm challenging these brothers to be smarter, be better, and stop saying incriminating shit on a public platform. It seems simple to me.